Hello and welcome, everybody. And I'm Alexis, and this is the beautiful Lisa Murray. So you may know her as the creative alchemist, creation catalyst. She's also an iTerra Australian stockist, and she is just a very beautiful soul. So we're going to have a chat, and basically, let's just run with it and see where we go. So, Lisa, tell me what is going on with you. I want to hear. I know you've been going through some stuff and you're coming out like the beautiful butterfly, just out of the chrysalis and stepping into the new space that you're in. Tell me whatever you want to tell me and everybody else.
Open slather, let's go.
Yes.
Well, thank you first of all for having me to chat today,
So
Alexis. So, where will I start? Sometimes, yeah, let's see. Okay, I think I'll just start where I am. So, it's usually the best place, right?
Yeah.
So initiations. So I've spent like 4 years. So all of 2020, I slept. And then there was 3 years where I knew I wasn't my normal self, but I didn't really know why. And about June last year, I was like, okay, I really have to get to the bottom of this, because nothing was working how it used to. Literally nothing, right?
Yeah.
And I went and saw this psychic, and he's like, yeah, you're 95% of the way through a 3-year process. I was like, excellent. Like, how you're like, oh gosh. And he couldn't really tell me anything more about it. And so I kind of just, let it sit there for a bit. But I knew I was in the midst of something, because it was really, really, really obvious, that I was not able to even function as my normal self. Like I went through a phase last year for a few months where I couldn't speak to people. And I had that in 2020 as well, where I had like 3 people I could talk to. The rest I was like, I don't know who you are, what you are, but I can't talk to you. So, and for me, who's always been quite connected with people as well, it was quite intense to realize that nothing would come out my mouth, basically. I was like mute.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I've come from this 4 years of quite interesting and different and intense stuff, and there's been lots of phases in those 4 years, definitely. And then just like after my birthday in December, all of a sudden, all my energy came back. And I mean all of it, like on fire, get up, get going. Let's just do all the things right now, Lisa, And I was like, who are you? Because I haven't seen that Lisa for a fair while. And I was kind of curious, because I was like, where did that come from? Because it was literally overnight. And anyway, about a week ago, I was talking to this lady, and she basically launches into this big conversation about Uluru and the 2020 solstice, which I was at Uluru for the 2020 solstice. And as she's talking, I'm looking at her, I'm like, oh my gosh. She was saying that there's lots of light workers who've had these 3 years, that it finished from the Uluru solstice to the solstice last year in December. And of course, my birthday's, a few days just before that solstice. And so I was like, oh, it wasn't my birthday. And I didn't think it was, but I couldn't work out what it was. It was the solstice. So there was this 3-year period that had a very defined start and end. I just didn't realize it had a defined start, because I'd been so much in the mush anyway for that year, So really interesting to kind of sort of have the puzzle pieces put together, even if in hindsight, because then it actually gave me the confidence of like, oh, I can create again, which is really exciting, because I built a whole career on teaching people how to create. And it wasn't that I couldn't create, it was that I could create, but nothing would work. And that for me was quite a shock, because I was used to things working fairly easily. And then I was like, okay, something else is going on here. So now I've been madly, like literally, since about the 1st of January, I have been madly creating. I woke up on New Year's Day, and it's not like me. Normally I go to the beach, hang out, do stuff. And I was just in a frenzy, and I was working nonstop for a couple of weeks. And then I was like, okay, the body's probably not coping with that much computer time. I'll chill out a bit, So so I've been creating lots of things. Some things are still behind the scenes. Some things are just starting to emerge into the public. So it's fun.
Very exciting times, because I've known you for a few years now, and just watching the journey. And I think a lot of us went into that hibernation phase with
Yeah.
what happened in 2020. And then I noticed a lot of people seem to be coming out of that again. And it's like, oh, hello, I haven't seen you in a while. And
Yeah.
it is literally like meeting new people again, because none of
Yes.
us are what we were before.
Mm.
And then we're all stepping out and go, there's like these new vibrating kind of amazing souls that have just gone, I am lit and I am ready to rock and roll and just
Yeah.
see what will come. But it's quite interesting, I'm finding, because no one has these definitive plans. It's almost like we're all just what
Mm.
energy is going to flow in and what are we going to meet and what is ready to meet us. And then we just move into those
Yes.
spaces. And it's not so, like, for me, regimented structure does not work.
Mm-mm.
So allowing other people and just meeting them, and you're going through these beautiful flows, such a magical time. There is so much more, but I love the magic because it's just all coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, amazing. So what else? What else? What else? Can you pretty please tell me about the 100-day experiment?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
excited.
Sure.
So, as you know, I know you like to go off in tangents. So do I. So let's see where we
Yes.
end up. I have no
Yes.
plans. I just want to play with this,
Yeah.
but I'm excited to hear about, because I heard about it last night and I would love to hear more about it,
More
please.
about it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So, it's really interesting because for these last probably 2 years, I've been putting together lots of pieces of things that I wanted to create that I just knew it wasn't the time yet. And one of those has got a name, it's got branding, it's got everything except time, the right time. And so I was thinking for a while, I was like, I think it's partially reliant on me not having quite the right audience for what it desires to be. And
Mm.
part of that is, yes, I've been missing in action for 4 years. And part of that, and of course, and then some people have changed along with us. And of course, then there's been some that have fallen away. And
Mm.
really, my audience is not that engaged anymore because I haven't been engaged. So I was kind of just, and I noodle it around. I just sort of put it in my mind that, oh, yeah, there's something before that piece. And I wonder what that is. And then I always love the idea of a 100-day project. Various people do them in all sorts of different ways. And I signed up for this lady, Bree. She's doing like 100 days to 100K. And whilst I'm not especially money driven, and I knew that topic wouldn't work for me, I was curious about how she was running it and, whatever, all that kind of stuff. So I just signed up just to see if it would spark something, because it was like $7 the week I signed up. I think it's more now, but back then it was $7. And I was just like, oh, let's just see if it sparks something. And that's often why I will listen to something or, explore something. Just, well, what can it spark in my reality? And anyway, it did. It really did, because I noticed that, like, I was pretty much creating my experiment, and she is doing hers as a challenge. I much prefer experiments because for me, that's more just who I am and how I create and, all that kind of thing. And like, once it feels like work, I won't do it. So
Yes.
I literally had to make it something fun, you know. Um, and so yeah, so I thought, okay, I'm going to do a 100-day experiment. And I was kind of noodling around with a few different ideas of what I would do it about. And then I realized, well, I actually need to activate a new audience. Like, that's really the place I'm at in the business as a whole. If there was one thing I had to, fix right now, that would be it.
Yeah.
And so I thought, and I said, so I just kept making some notes, because I'm a big, like, one idea comes, I write it down. I just write all the notes down and then it forms itself. And so I was doing that. And then in the shower one morning, I'm like, oh, light up, love up, which is
Mhm.
LULU, right?
Mhm.
And there's like, okay, there's my 100-day experiment, light up, love up. Because I knew that I don't like using the word visibility, because people use it in such tedious ways. Let me just say
Mm.
that.
Mhm.
And I'm going to say tedious and soul destroying ways, actually. It's like it's this
Mm.
really forced hustle culture a lot of the time. And that's so not what I think of it as. So I don't tend to use that word very much. But I knew that I needed to put my new energy out into the world. And so I've made Lulu, which is my 100-day experiment. And really the idea is that I'm going to look at aligned creation. I've got 3 topics. Let me just find them because they're not quite fully in my head just yet, right?
Still landing for you, isn't
Still
it?
landing, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's because I'm doing it in the way I'm doing it. It's really quite fun. Yeah. So aligned creation because and focused on the community expansion, right? Because that's really what I'm here for. Being fully soul expressed, because that's really what visibility is to me. It's
Yeah.
not about just showing up on Instagram because you have to. I can't stand that. And then the other part is, I've got this really substantial body of work from that last, almost 15 years. And I noticed that I could not really put it anywhere. Like I pulled my website down at the end of last year and because I wanted to make a new one on a different platform. And I noticed that almost nothing has gone back up, and partially that's been time, but there's also this energetic of there's very little of it that I want to put back up at this point. So I think the third thing I want to look at in my Lulu adventure is, well, how do I alchemize that? How do I keep the gold and you not have it be in the old energies? Because I feel like I've moved from one set of energies completely to a new set of energies. And so just putting up things that I've already created doesn't
No.
basically. Yeah. So Lulu is actually then every day for 100 days, except on the weekends, I probably won't do it. I'll probably just do the catch up on Mondays. Is I'm going to just explore those things and take lots of action, really, but aligned action to see where I can be in 100 days in terms of audience expansion and community expansion.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm doing like, I'm just going to do like, people can come and play. If they want to come along for the ride, then it's like $11 just to listen to all the audios, because I'll do an audio every day that kind of summarizes what I discovered, all the detail basically. Yeah. And so it just feels fun to do it that way. And it gives me that energy of exploring. Like I've also started writing on Substack, which it's kind of been another thing. It's been in my awareness for a while, but the impetus wasn't there. And then all of a sudden it was. And I was like, okay, let's make it today. And there it was, So yeah.
Do you
That's a little bit of
find that
Lulu.
because especially when you have such a lot of body of work and that idea of like, okay, I've got all this, do I just put it away and forget about it, or can it be brought forward? Because
Yeah.
some things will, it's almost like even something you wrote 5 years ago
Yeah.
might not have the same energy now, but it's sometimes there's still something in it that you
Yes.
can bring
Yes.
through.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
wonder, because I write a lot.
Yeah.
I have notebooks upon notebooks and I have stuff still, stashed. And sometimes I wonder, what am I going to do with all this? Because it's just sitting there.
You
And
could go on Substack because that's what I'm going to do with it all.
so,
Seriously, it's like old school blogging. It's quite amazing.
so
But you're doing it with all these other
having,
people.
and that is the idea of like, we have this expression that we want to share, but quite often I would think about, well, where am I going to put that? I don't even, like, I've tried Tumblr, I do Facebook posts sometimes, and sometimes it just feels like I have so much to share and go, well, maybe Substack, we'll have a look.
Yeah. Well, this also was my problem. Same problem, right?
Yeah.
And because and as I've been cleaning up, when I moved to this house, I thought I'm going to do a big cleanup of my thousands of notebooks and all the writing that's everywhere. And I realized that there's pieces that need to be in the world for the right people to find them. But you're right, where do you put them? Because if you put them on social media, they're there and they're gone within, an hour, 24 hours.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the things I'm most enjoying about Substack is things aren't disappearing at the same rate. Like if you put it as a blog post, it's there. People can go and read your whole history very easily without any algorithmic sort of interference, which I very much love,
Yeah.
So I think that for me, that was one of the big reasons I wanted to go on Substack, because I am going to write the dragon books this year. And I wanted to like I used to write this little series on Facebook called Dear Dragons, and I would do like a question and then the dragons would do an answer. And it was just another fun thing, you know. And I'm feeling to like start that again.
Mhm.
And I wanted a place to put it that already had some kind of audience. Because I think the challenge now, if you put it on your own blog, people aren't really reading those anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and so it Substack's the best thing I've found so far in terms of there's a lot of like you can get traffic by referring and by recommending other people and all those kinds of things, you know. So, and I haven't gone very like I've literally only started this week, so I've got a fair way to go to get it moving and shaking. But I think that it is important to keep all that writing, you know, and some of it will go into the books, and maybe some of yours will go into books too, you know.
One
Um,
day.
yeah, one day, exactly. Um, but I think that it comes out of us for a reason, and there is an energetic attached to it. And so when you're talking writing, yes, a lot of my writing is very timeless. Like there's no old energy, new energy to it necessarily.
Yeah.
But if you're talking like my courses and, you know, things like that, I can feel they're more stuck in time, you know. Probably the one that's the least stuck in time is the My Mysteria course, which is for all the people in the Dark Night of the Soul, which, you know, when I found that last year, I was like, oh, this is helpful. Wish I'd remembered I had that a little bit earlier. Like, you know, it's a good reminder of what you know that you've forgotten that you know. So, yeah. But
That's
yeah,
something I got reminded of recently is it's all about remembering. And it's funny because I'd written something about remembering the other week. I'm like, oh, everything's about remembering. And it's like, you think about how much you've forgotten, and then you're like, oh,
yeah,
remembering. And you go into this whole, oh, remembering. And it's sometimes we need to have that little bit of a catalyst or something that will trigger it. I don't like the word trigger so much, but you know, just something that will spark that idea and go, oh, I remember I thought about this 5 years ago. But
yeah,
it's sometimes it is that timing, isn't it? It's like
yeah,
that may have been when you wanted to express it and you wrote it down, but maybe it
yeah.
wasn't the time to actually share it.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. You know, so yeah, I don't know. I just go on the energy, you know, and usually what I find is the thing that needs to be out there falls into my hands in some way. Either I'm searching in my notes and the keyword brings up something I'd forgotten I'd written, or you know, I'll literally pick up the notebook with the thing in it and I'll be looking for something else, but then this thing and I'm like, oh yeah, that's for right now. So I just, you know, let it all flow along, not too much planning from that side of it.
No, planning, plans never go to plan. I know
No, I don't.
I do tend to reinforce that. Maybe that's just my mindset, but I have
Mm.
found that as much as I was a person that tried to do structure and routine and never in the work environment when I worked for an employer, I was very good at it. I was very good
Yeah,
at systems and all that.
yeah,
When it
same.
comes to family and own business and life, none of that works. It's like,
No.
well, were you a completely different person when you're working for someone else? Apparently I was.
I'm not surprised because I was too. I look back and I'm like, oh my God, I had so much going on and I was super organized and super efficient, except for my desk, which was always an absolute disaster. But it's kind of one of those things where you look at it and you go, well, but I think, you know, that was a very linear, logical reality. And you and I don't necessarily live there anymore.
Haven't for
So
years, have we?
no, exactly. Mm.
No. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. So going on a totally another path.
Yes.
Um, can we touch on quantum biology? Because you were talking about it last night, and my brain went, "Oh my God, I need to hear more about that." And no, I have not done
Yeah.
any research. I haven't really done much with the quantum mechanics or realm or any of
Yeah.
that stuff in recent years. Please tell me more,
Okay.
or
Well,
just touch
let
on
me put
what
a
you'd like to
caveat.
share.
Yeah, let me put a caveat on this.
Mm,
I'm doing a course on quantum biology with a lady called Kate Prentice, and it's
mhm,
amazing. Like she's made very complex things relatively simple. And when I say that, I'm still struggling to understand some of them, because it's all how the physical biology in your body works at a quantum level.
Mm.
And I never really did the sciencey subjects at school. That wasn't my interest.
No.
And so I'm like, every day I'm like, oh, she's talking a foreign language. But what is interesting, so there's a few people you could follow on Instagram: Dr. Jack Cruz, Carrie B, Carrie B Wellness, and Sarah Kleiner. Sarah, what's her I can't think of her name. Anyway, Sarah Kleiner, something like that. She's got another name that goes with that name, but I can't think of what it is. Anyway, all of them, they explain it all. And there's another lady, Dr. Catherine Clinton, I think her name is. So they're all people you could check out, and they are explaining things in really simple language. But what I would like to say about it, because I think it's something that ultimately all of us need to revisit, because it's starting with circadian rhythms, aligning ourselves to the sun, right? Sunrise, UVA rise, UVB rise, and then back closing down at the other end of the day. Because if we look at that, like my sleep is better as a result of it, because I've done so many things to get better sleep, and they all work for a while. But this one, I'm getting this really deep sleep, and I've even had nights when I've had dreams, which is a miracle. And when I say sunlight, like it's raining today, it's been raining for weeks on and off, really. There's not a lot of sunlight, actual sunlight around, right? And yet, if you're out in the light, if you put your skin into the light, the natural light, then that creates, well, it does a whole lot of things in the body. But one of the most important things it does is it creates a thing called easy water. Okay. And easy water is this thing that makes your whole body work. Gerald Pollack calls it the fourth phase of water. It's got lots of different names. But if you can get your body to create water correctly, because when you drink water, it turns into blood within 5 minutes.
Wow.
I know, right? It's quite mind-blowing, right? And so you want to drink really good quality water, because you're making blood, right?
Yep.
Like literally you're making blood. And so
Makes me thirsty.
yeah, right, exactly. And so then you want to give your body the correct conditions for it to be able to make the easy water. And that's the water that basically determines cell health. Now, okay, for the scientists who are watching this, don't be too judgy, okay? My language is not precise. But I'm just giving you this broad sort of picture so you can go and investigate it for yourself.
Yeah.
What happens is, though, if you've got a good amount of easy water, your cells can function properly. But if you have a not good amount of easy water, besides being fully dehydrated, which is actually where dehydration comes from, it's not the volume of water you drink in a day. It's because your body should actually make water. You should be able to drink less than 500 mils of water a day if your body's functioning properly. Which
I drink nearly 3 liters a day.
Yeah, exactly. And I drink a lot too. And I do have some days where not as much, but if your body is actually at a cellular level functioning correctly, then you won't need as much, which is really interesting. So basically, it's this big quantum biology is this big deep dive at the moment for me into sunlight, into the water, and then the water and how the frequency works. And I'm sure you've seen like Veda Austin and her incredible, have you seen her slides?
No, I haven't. I have heard that name though.
Yeah, you're going to love her. So she's a New Zealander, and she has this technique for freezing water and showing the energetic of the water. So she might put her little Petri dish, she uses Petri dishes, and she freezes the water for 30 seconds. So she might put it on a picture of a giraffe, and then she will freeze the water for 30 seconds and then bring it out. And literally, you'll be able to see the outline of a giraffe in the water. And she's done like 40,000 of these now. So
I think I have heard something about that. I just don't recall.
Yeah.
That's fascinating though.
So what it's saying is that we're imprinting water all the time. So we're imprinting the water in our bodies, and we're imprinting, and this is why scalar energy works, right? Because it's imprinting the water. Yeah. And of course, there's water in the atmosphere, there's water everywhere. So this is why what we think matters, basically, as well.
Because I know years ago, I got out of it. But you remember Dr. Emoto? He
Yes,
started
yes,
that process. Like that
yes,
was the big thing. And I
yes,
used to write on my water bottles all these lovely words, love and peace and harmony. Then I fell out of that practice.
yeah,
But I remembered that because, the energy of the language that you're using, and
yeah,
not only the written language, but the words we speak, like
yeah,
we're infusing that into our bodies and those in our environment every day. So it
yeah,
reminds
yeah,
me, maybe I need to
yeah.
speak a little bit kinder
Well,
to, such and such.
yeah, maybe. That's what I've come, and also kinder to our own bodies, right?
Mm,
Because they literally are imprinting through the frequency of our voice and all the words we're speaking. So,
mm,
so I've been on the weekend, I was listening to this guy who used to run Dr. Emoto's labs,
mhm.
and he was mind blowing. Like the research that they've continued after he died, and
Yeah.
like just the more I discover about water, like I could listen to things about water all day, because
Mm.
the more I discover about it, the more fascinated I get. So it's one of my other obsessions at the moment. Yeah.
But isn't that you're going to isn't there a workshop event? Is it this weekend or was that last
There is,
weekend?
yes, it is. No, it's
Yeah.
this weekend. You're
Oh,
absolutely right.
I
Yes,
remembered
down at
about it. Please
Landsborough. Yes,
tell me.
yes. Well, Kate, who's teaching the course on
Yeah.
quantum biology, she cured herself of bowel
Mm.
cancer, avoided
Wow.
a major operation in 6 weeks of basically sorting out the sunshine, the water, and her diet. Six
Wow.
weeks. She went
That's
from having
amazing.
quite a large growth to having nothing. They
Wow.
didn't need to operate. It is amazing. And she's she's amazing. I love her. She's just really insightful. She's had a very interesting life. And when she goes fully into it, she goes fully into it. So she's going to speak and tell her story. But she believes gardening saved her life, because she was going out and gardening early in the morning. What's
Mm,
that? Early morning sunlight.
mm,
And like technically, we should all be wearing our little blue light glasses.
mm,
Um, and also, like, because blue light basically is a death sentence in many,
mm.
many ways. It's the worst, worst, worst thing for the body in just so many ways. And so, yeah, so that's on this weekend. We're going to take the wands, because one of the other reasons I was curious about the quantum biology was I wanted to like work out more of the connections about, well, why does the wanded water work so well,
Mhm.
and why does the frequency in the wands work so well on people? And of course, yeah, all these threads are drawing together in all these quite astonishing ways, and I am going to create a presentation about it at some point, but I haven't done it yet because I'm only halfway through the class, and it's got another 4 weeks to go, and I feel like if I made it now, I'd only have half the picture.
You wouldn't do it justice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I
Mm.
want to make it really simple, like for the everyday person, because
Mhm.
that's how my brain works, really.
You're not an everyday person, though.
No, that's probably true. But from a science point of view, I am. Like, I am definitely the least sciencey person in this class. And I'm very grateful for everyone being so patient when I ask probably what are really dumb questions. But they're things I don't know. So
And the thing is, if you don't ask a question, there might be someone that might not have quite, or maybe the way it's answered might change the way that they perceive what they thought they knew.
yeah. Yeah. And
So
actually,
questions
it's
are
true.
amazing, yeah.
Yeah. And also there's people in there who they have a different perspective to Kate. So they're bringing their words to it. She brings her words to it. And for my brain, that actually works really well to have different expressions of the same thing. So
Mm,
it's cool. Really fun.
beautiful.
Yeah. So you're going to be up at sunrise tomorrow?
Well,
You'd be laughing at me.
I'm usually I'm awake between 5 and 5:30
Yeah,
anyway.
well, that's fine. That's all you need.
And
You
I
just
don't get
pop
out of
your
bed
head
till 6.
outside. Oh yeah, you pop your head outside, because you can't do it through glass. Actually, it doesn't work if you're lying in bed looking out the window. I tried that. Kate's like, no. I was like, damn
Well,
it.
generally, I have a roller door that I
Oh
open
yeah,
every day. So I
yeah,
actually
cool.
have when it's sun shining and not
Yeah,
raining, the sunlight actually comes straight through the
Yeah,
door.
that's good. That's
So
good. Yeah.
it's very I don't have a lot of glass windows here.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Very open, which the Aussies love me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they've been shocking, haven't they?
Definitely. All right, my darling. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
Oh, is there anything else I'd like to share?
We've talked about what's current for you,
Only
and
I think maybe just one thing is
mm,
that there's this kind of theme that goes across a lot of my work, which is about awakening brilliance.
mhm,
And because I love having those conversations with people about, well, what is their brilliance and how can they express it in the world and, all that stuff. And I am very soon going to start a podcast about that as well.
yay.
I've got like 19 podcasts going, my public feeds and my private feeds, but actually at the moment, it's really fun for me to do that. So that's what I'm doing, And I think maybe the only other thing I'd really like to say is that we're in a time where you only really want to do what you love,
Mhm,
because if you're trying to force yourself to do things, that is going to put you in places that you'd rather not be. And
mm,
one of the things for me, because for years and years and years, I would do 6 a.m. calls because I had people in the USA, I had people in Europe, and that was the closest time I could get where everyone could be on the call.
mm.
And I must say, coming out of this initiation phase, my body's like, nope, there will be no 6 a.m. calls. It's literally like, you're not available for 6 a.m. calls. And it's funny because, in some ways I never minded it back then, but I can see that something shifted and that's no longer my job, And even my nighttime calls, I'm shifting them all into the daytime.
Mhm,
So it's kind of like, I think there's really a thing about recalibrating to what will work best for you
mhm.
rather than making do.
Yes.
And
That's very much about listening to your body and acknowledging what is actually true for you and not just
yeah.
pushing through. Because that used to be the old paradigm is like, you've
Mm.
got this, you've got these deadlines, you've got to push, 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 and just until you fall over.
Yeah.
And then once you've fallen over, you've got to somehow build yourself up and your capacity and join the living again
Yeah.
because you're not actually living, are you?
No, that's it. And I think, I'm really one of the things that's really stuck with me in these last few months is I can't even remember what I was reading. Oh, it might have been the Atlantis book. Anyway, some book I was reading, can't remember what it was. I think it was the Atlantis book though. It was saying that in Atlantis, people only worked 2 to 3 hours a day.
Mm,
And part of that was they had the energetics in place to do a lot of the hard work, right?
mhm,
But also, we weren't built to work hard for 9, 10, 12 or more hours a day. We weren't.
mm,
That's not actually what life is about. And that really only came in with Henry Ford,
mm,
who wanted everyone to do an 8-hour day in his factories so that he could be a very wealthy man.
yeah,
And if we look at what life's supposed to be,
mm,
it's supposed to be this magical, glorious communion with Earth.
mhm,
And here we are sitting in front of screens, doing all sorts of things. So I try and do as much of my work outside as I can too. I've got a really big table outside and it's undercover. So I literally just sit out there and then I'm getting maximum natural light
mhm,
and maximum nature because
mm,
I'm lucky to have a very beautiful view, you
mhm,
know. So yeah, I just think that yeah, if ever you're thinking of changing something, that's the thing, is to
yeah,
look at, well, how can you create more with less?
yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
So, where can people find you? Please tell.
Okay. So if you go to lisamurray.co, so not .com.co, that's my website. It hasn't got very much on it right now, but that'll change in the next few weeks. And also, if you want to go on my Substack, it is dragonlights.substack.com. Yeah, and Lulu will be on my website probably by tomorrow. I was thinking it would be today, but I suspect it won't be. So yeah, but Lulu will definitely be on my website by tomorrow. So, and that will just be lisamurray.co/Lulu. And that will be available for people after I finish the experiment too, because
Mm,
I feel like um there's it's almost like paving a path. That's what it feels like. It's paving a path to new ways of being and doing things. And
Mm.
so I feel like just to allow it to be available for people, and yeah, we'll go from there. So
Beautiful.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming and giving us your time. Mm, Time is a commodity, isn't it?
Yeah, well, for this 10 seconds, yeah. I mean, what would it be like where time wasn't relevant, like it would be so cool.
We'll get there one day.
We will. We
Well,
will.
I live
Yeah.
there most of the time anyway.
Well, yeah, I do when I've not got deadlines for sure, or when
Yeah.
I've not got meetings. Absolutely. It's better that way. Oh,
Uh,
thank you, Alexis. I've really enjoyed chatting with you.
Anytime. All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. And yeah, find Lisa and you'll find me. All the details will be underneath the video. And I'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.